everybody, it's Brent in Arkansas. We're going to do another maximum grow. This time we're going to grow collards, and we're going to use 85 grams of seed. 85 grams of seed. I believe this is the first time I've ever grown collards, at least by themselves. I may have put it in a mix, I can't quite remember. Anyway, we're going to start off with 85 grams. I pre-wet the medium-sized screen with the super antifungal using organic soap. We've got the seed on. I'm going to hit it with the super antifungal. Saturated it. Really saturate it and start the germination process. The next thing I'm going to do is put my 3-pound food grade cover on top of it. It serves not only as a cover but the weight because of its actual weight. And that's what it looks like. Now this is just a cutting board, and once I cut it to size, the extra material I had created a handle for using stainless steel screws. These screws penetrate and attach, but they don't go all the way through the cover. So the bottom is pure food grade, no metal whatsoever. Alright, I've got about 3/4 of a gallon in the reservoir. You can see it's about a 1/2 inch from the 1.5 inch support here. This is the new air support that I created. I created originally for the lettuce, but I'm switching over to this for everything. I put a valve on it so I can turn the bubbles down, and when you first start to grow, you don't want them quite this aggressive. You want them to barely pop so they don't dislodge the seed above. Let's check on the collards. This is day 2. Starting to get some popping. Seeds are sticking to the cover. Just hit it with the super antifungal. We're done until tomorrow. Doing the same thing again today. Dome off, cover off, spray. Put the cover back on, dome on. You can see that the roots are just now starting to pop through, and of course the water level is going to be the same. It's going to be the same for a while until these roots go down in there significantly. So there's not much attention that needs to be placed on these grows until they get further along their harvest. I waited to spray the collards so you could see the tiny little hairs that are on the roots. It's not mold. Some people confuse it with mold, but it's not. What I'm going to do is the same thing I did the last couple of times you saw. I'm going to spray it, cover it, put it back. Let's take a look and see what it looks like underneath the collards. See, there's no depletion of the reservoir. You see the roots starting to show up. Reaching down. It's going to go fast from here. Ooh, them collards are looking really good. Really good. Great germination. Even though the seed's a little old, it's still great germination. I'm going to hit it with the antifungal, the super antifungal. And this is the same as in the book. Minus the neem. I would only add neem now, I think, if I was seeing some sort of bug like a gnat or black fly or something like that. I wanted to show you here too, the cover. See how these little holes coming off? All I do is I can just tap this cover, and all these holes that came off, a lot of that will no longer hit the bottom. It doesn't have a chance because I knocked it off. That's one good thing about the cover. Let's take a look at the roots and see if we're ready to turn the valve up, turn the bubbles on high. Yeah, I think we are. They're looking good. Don't need to add nutrient left. It's still pretty high, so it's not using the nutrient yet. So, yep, let's turn the bubbles on high and really crank up the air. There we go. All the way up. Here's the collards right now, and they look fantastic. They're still quite short, so we're going to keep the cover on there. We're going to keep the cover on there until it reaches the height of the tray right here on the side. Do you see my finger? And once that happens, we'll take the cover off, but we'll leave it in the dark. That should be another day or two. So here is the cover. See all the seeds attached? That's the beauty. And there's less and less with roots. So that means that the cover weight is forcing the seed roots below and not sticking and not pushing other microgreens up. That's the purpose of the cover, and it's working real great. And all this material here, all these different seed holes, I'll tap that off and I won't have to worry about it being in the bottom of the tray. That's the purpose of the cover. So we're going to hit this with the super antifungal one more time, or today, and then come back tomorrow and see what it looks like. Alright, the collards have pushed the cover up to the same level as the tray. That's the indicator when to take it off. You see all those seed holes stuck on there? That's a good thing. Look at those beautiful collards. This will be the last time that I spray the super antifungal, and I'm going to put the blackout dome on these more or longer until they reach an inch or so above the side. Alright, let's look at these roots. Before I do that though, I put a piece of styrofoam foam board, Dow foam board here and here, which that sits it against the side here and the back there, and what that does is it closes off the gap, which could potentially dry the roots along the edge. And I think I'm seeing an improvement there. I'm still trialing it, so if you're wondering what that foam is doing there, that's what it is. Okay, so those are the roots, and they look fantastic. Reservoir water is nice and clear. The level is still quite good, so I don't have to worry about that till tomorrow. Very nice. I love the way roots look. I don't know why. Collards today are about an inch or so above, varying heights, but that's what it looks like. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous grow. Alright, that's the height of the collards. That's about 2 inches above the tray. Now we're going to take the dome off. This is what it looks like. There's a little bit of seed coating still on there, but those will pop right off as the cotyledons spread in the bright light above. I took the strips out that keep the moisture in off the bottom here just to open it so you can kind of see. And someone did mention, is it grabbing the air bubbler, or the air support rather, sorry, whenever I lift up, and it never has. So I thought I'd show that or mention that while I'm showing the roots here. Nice and pristine, everything looks great. We'll put the strips back in and keep them underneath the light. I am going to move them up closer to the light, and we've got a fan on them right now, and that'll help with transpiration, which will help with growth. Collards are looking quite fine, but this brassica is doing something others don't typically do, and that's we're getting some stragglers that are tall. It's not as uniform as what I'm saying. Still Beautiful grow. The coddies are starting to grow. Let's look at the roots and reservoir. Very, very pristine roots. The reservoir is still quite full. No need to worry about it today. Come back tomorrow. The cotyledons, the little leaves here, the first two leaves, they're starting to spread, and it's starting to create a canopy of sorts over the cross top here. I've got a fan on it. The way I'm growing is I'm trying to maximize the grow, get a nice harvest weight, big beautiful cotyledon leaf, and a great tasting dish. So that's what we're going to do. Now, once a day when I come out, like I'm doing today, I take and I rub these like this, just lightly. If there's any seeds, which there's not really, but if there are any seeds on here, that helps that. It's therapeutic. I like rubbing my microgreens. I'm sorry, and a little embarrassed to say, but I like rubbing my microgreens, and it also kind of moves them around some, and it gives the weaker plants that may be hidden a little bit an opportunity to get some light and grow. So let's take a look in the reservoir. I anticipate at this level that they're drinking pretty heavily. Let me remove these two pieces of styrofoam here that block the end, make it easier to lift up. The only reason why I have the styrofoam there in here is to the lights are cutting off in here, is to keep the moisture in, and I'm finding that I'm getting edge growth that's better. My guess is because the air is not drying out the roots along the edges. So let's take a look at, oh wow, that's heavy. Mostly probably the water, but that is quite heavy. But take a look at the reservoir level there. You can see it's down. It's probably halfway down, and I kind of knew that and expected that, because as soon as you put light to them, they start to transpire aggressively, and they begin to drink the nutrient, because they transpire. It pulls the nutrient through the roots, up through the stem, releases through the cotyledon, and then the fan that I have going here blows it away, and it increases that process from roots to coddies, roots to cotyledons, and that process drives a faster growth from the movement of nutrients. It also, in my opinion, somewhat debatable, it increases the nutrient levels to the absolute maximum. I mean, how could it not? It has everything in the nutrient that it needs to grow. So the air bubbler is on full blast. We've got a nice healthy grow. I don't see any problems. The cotyledons are starting to spread. Everything is going great. Now, I can't remember if I said this before, I've got an older tray here. This is the medium tray in the book. I've put two foam covers on here that I'm no longer using, or not using very much, and I put this tray, I set it down for videotaping, but I'll move it back on top here, and that'll raise it up closer to the light, and that's the final ingredient besides the fan and increasing nutrients, and well, that's the final ingredient, is the blast of light. So we want to keep that going, and yeah, work our way to a nice harvest. Collards are looking pretty good. It's not typical brassica growth for me because of the unevenness of it, but really there's nothing wrong with it. Still looking good. Cotyledons are spreading. That's what I want. We'll keep going. Let's look at the collards' roots and reservoir. Roots look fantastic, and the reservoir is pretty depleted. We need to add some nutrient to it. to be expected at this stage. Looking really good, but we're not ready to harvest the collards. We're going to let them leaf up some more, some bigger cotyledons. Let's take a look below. Thick roots. Definitely need to add some more nutrient. Looks like it's drinking a good bit every day now. I may be repeating myself, and if I am, please forgive me. It's just that I do this videoing once a day, and I can't remember what I've said in past days. So right now, the cotyledons are looking really good, and the micros, if you look at them, they're evening out the height and all of it, which is really cool. But if you look at that, look at the cotyledons. They've created a pretty much flat canopy because they're fighting for light. Now what we want to do as a maximum grow is we want to spread that some. We want to push the micros past the edge. So that we can open up points that light can enter within, we'll call it a canopy. And that will grow further other cotyledons, which will make the overall grow better and increase your overall weight. So let's do that. First I start by kind of pushing the side here and rubbing it, pushing to the side and rubbing it just like that. And believe me when I say this actually works, because some of these micros that are in here that couldn't see the light, they're going to rush to get to the light because they see a break. And that, I think that's nature. That's just the way nature works, is if we see sunlight, we're going to rush to it. That's why you have a lot of, sometimes if you've ever grown plants inside in a low light area, they become leggy because they're stretching for light. They're trying to find light because they want to grow. They want to start photosynthesis and mature, and their ultimate goal is to perpetuate the variety, to keep it going, to make babies or make seeds or whatever you want to call it. So that's the main point of all life, actually, is to continue itself. So that's what I'm doing here. There's no holes on here anymore that I see, and if there are, they're very small, not really worth worrying about at all. So yeah, that's a good thing. So we're doing this now, and we're opening up space. We're stretching the micros beyond the edge of the 10 by 20 tray here, if you look at my finger. And by the time this grow is done, it's going to be a good 2 to 3 inches past the tray. And if you count that on both sides, you're talking 5 to 6 extra inches beyond a standard tray, which is 10 inches. So you're talking 14 to 16 inches wide. And instead of 20 going this way, you're talking, what's that, 24 to 26 inches wide. That's overall with both, in the overall area, that's a significant improvement, and that adds a significant weight, overall weight. And we all know the more harvest you get, the more nutrients you can put in your body, the more you can eat, the more you can sell. It's nothing but good. But listen, you don't have to grow a maximum grow like I'm growing. If you like a smaller microgreen with a big cotyledon leaf, you can put these things to the light just as soon as they pop, and you can see those first true leaves beginning. You can put them there and they won't grow as tall. You can let them grow to the cotyledon stage, nice full cotyledon stage, or you can take them like I see on a lot of places online, on YouTube videos and YouTube creators. They'll take them when the cotyledons are real tiny and the stems a lot of time are long because they're planting a little dense. But you can take them in any which way, any which preference. And that's what I'm advocating for. You do you do whatever you want to do. To me, This is what I'm doing. I think it's more exciting to maximize the grow, to see how much you can get, and I think it's, you know, even for you guys watching, it's better to watch someone who's pushing the limits than to see the same old, same old. So I don't like to be the same old, same old. So I'm pushing the limits of this method. This is what I call the IHG method. It was first coined in the closed Facebook group that I developed for people who buy the book. And there's an individual in there, I wish I could remember his name, but he coined IHG. And IHG is simply the acronym I for intense, H for hydroponic, and G for grows. So intense hydroponic grows is the majority of the name of the book. Microgreens Intense Hydroponic Grows is the name of the book. And in that book, my style, the main difference with my style is it's hydroponically grown on screens. You do not use any soil, you do not use any mats, you do not use something that you have to keep replenishing. I mean, the screens will wear out eventually, but you use the same screens over and over and over. And you know why I'm pointing that out? Because I get asked that question all the time. So I usually don't mention things over and over, but there's a need for some of you guys to hear it. Or maybe you're new, or maybe you're just not sure, or whatever, so I'm repeating it. So yeah, the screens and everything in the assembly, once you buy it, you got it. And once you got it, you can do it over and over and over and over again. You don't have to buy those expensive mats to go hydroponic. You don't have to buy the soil. You don't have to deal with the soil coming off with your roots and potentially contaminating what you're selling or what you're putting in your body. You don't have to harvest really, really close and being super careful to not get the dirt involved. You don't have to do post-harvest washing. If you want to sell it or you want to eat it personally, you just like you do with main vegetables in any garden, you wash them at the time you eat them. So they look good, they're very pristine already, and I've eaten these things many times without washing them at all. So that's the benefits of the IHG growing on screens. The benefit that I don't talk about much, it's in the book for sure, is they're healthy, they're clean, and you can grow beyond dense. I mean beyond dense. Look at what I'm talking about here. There's nobody online in their right mind besides me that would grow microgreens this dense. And I want you to look at how much the weight is when I'm done. And then you can decide for yourself if I'm just silly or whatever the case may be. So anyway, so the roots, you're probably not going to know, I know you're seeing this one right after the other, but the roots probably didn't look any different to you now than they did 2 to 3 days ago in the grow or within the last minute of video viewing to you. I don't notice a difference in the roots from day to day now. All I do when I lift is I look to see that they're nice and clean and that there's no smell. And this is, collards appear to be a typical brassica. The reservoir is, I mean, perfectly clean. There is nothing wrong with them. And I know that translates into nothing wrong with the roots and nothing wrong with the micros in the tray. Almost always. So brassicas, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Brassicas and all those, which include cabbage, broccoli, kale, kohlrabi, turnip, mustards, radish, just the majority of microgreens that are grown out there are dead easy to grow. So even if that's all you could grow in the IHG method, it is beyond worth it, because those are the things that people want. So with IHG, you almost never have any issues. So that's what I wanted to point out. No matter what, if you're growing just like I do, you won't have any issues. Now if you start to change things beyond what I'm explaining or what's in the book, I mean, is probably definitely doable. A lot of you prove it to me. But what could happen is you're inviting problems in that, you know, I may have already been through. But that's fun in there too, isn't it? I mean, you try it your own way, you do your own thing, and if it doesn't work, you can always change your mind. And if it works fantastic, please share with me. I'm always willing to learn. So anyway, yep, the roots are looking good. Excuse me. The cotyledons haven't, I mean, the first true leaf hasn't started to show, so I'm not ready to harvest these yet. I'm maximizing, so I want to bring in as much growth as I can before I harvest, and that is usually right at the first true leaf beginning to poke out. One thing I wanted to point out when you're maximizing grows is a lot of us, including me, we start off with half strength, the master blend formula. If you're doing a maximum grow, once the roots are in the water for a day, throw full strength to it. I mean full strength, and even up to double strength of a normal master blend mix. I probably wouldn't go, I've never gone double strength, but I've gone over a regular master blend grow, which is about 900 ppms. So I've gone up to 1200 or more, attempting to maximize the grow. Right now what I did was I started with half strength, and once the roots set pretty good below, I started adding full strength to it. So by now it's been several days, it's probably pretty close to full strength. Collards are looking really, really good. The cotyledons are starting to spread nicely. Good sized cotyledons, that's what I want. I'm going to move this around so some of the smaller ones underneath can get a little light and get bigger. And we'll push the microgreens to the edge too at the same time. When I get to this stage, I do it every day until harvest. So we'll do that. I don't see any the beginnings of a true leaf, so we're going to grow for another day, maybe two, and keep an eye out for that. Let's take a look underneath. Definitely need some more nutrient added. Roots look the same. So yeah, I'm gonna add some more of that, and we'll come back tomorrow. Pretty quick actually. Even at this stage, it's real easy. The dome is off. You don't have to spray. So all you do is you just come here and you do this, and you add a little bit more water. Set it and forget it almost. It's just really, really easy. Got some small true leaves starting to come through. Let's see here. I'm gonna let it grow a little longer. I didn't anticipate letting it go this way. I just have a feeling I just want to grow it longer. I don't know why. Just am. Collar's looking good. The collards look pretty cool. I think we're going to harvest them today. We've got a good true leaf on most of them, and that's probably good enough to maximize this grow in the reservoir. Side view, just to show you how it's weeping over the edges there, and then we got the top view with all those pretty true leaves. Yeah, so we're going to do a harvest today. I'm going to show you something new I haven't showed before. Pretty windy day today, quite cold too. Even got some snow flurries yesterday. But the sun is shining, so it's looks deceptively warm out here, and it is not. But it's time to harvest, and we can't wait on nice weather. So let's get to harvesting. So one of the things I want to do, let me show you the microgreens. I'll lift them out here. What they look like here, and then the roots. Since I got it on the side now, one of the things you can do to get it out of the screen easier is you can take a knife and cut off these, the majority of these roots. It'll still stay attached to the screen more or less. So you might lose some, but you can also trim them back some. When you plant this densely, like I did this time, it's harder to get them out of the screen. Get the screen with the micros attached out of the whole tray, because there's just more roots trying to get down below. So it's a little bit more difficult. If you stick with about 50 grams of seed, this won't be an issue. It comes right out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them out. I'll show you that, and then I'm going to take you somewhere else and show you something else. Time, get the carpet and microgreens out. But you see how flexible that is right there? Now there's seed holes in between there, and that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how you can get rid of them while it's still attached, and clean them while they're still attached. Now you can do this outside like I'm going to do, because my wife won't let me do it inside. Or you can do it over the sink. It's easy to do. Let me show you. Put them on here. Because they are cinched down with the screen, you don't have to worry about being too terribly delicate. Alright, and what you can do is just move this up like so. Move the microgreens just like that. Knock out a whole lot of those seed holes. I don't know if the camera is going low enough where you can see them falling out, but you can do that and lift it and rotate it. I'm going to do that off camera. I'm not going to sit here and go through that whole process with you, and then I'll show you how I'm going to harvest them on that rack. This is the tray that this came in, and I want you to see here that this is the reservoir tray. It's very, very clean. I haven't rinsed it at all. The little light areas are from the salts, the fertilizer. It washes right out. So yeah, when you wash these, when you rinse these, you can probably see the debris down here and all that. They look kind of rough, but there's a way to make them, if it concerns you at all. You can take these microgreens, and let me get to the bottom here and grab them like so, and you can take and shake them, get extra water out and extra seeds out, and it also kind of fluffs them back up, and put it back in the tray, and essentially you've got them not restored, but more or less less stressful for you when you go to harvest. Now you can leave a little bit of water in the bottom if you want to and let these air dry, or you can harvest them wet if you want to do it this way. But what I do typically is I leave them on the rack till they're fairly dry, and I just shake the rack like this, and that helps the water go away. You can leave it on there for a while. You just want to be careful that, especially when it's warm, that you don't do it too long, and the microgreens start wilting. So we'll leave them on here for a little while, let them drip down, and just like this. And let them drip down, and then we'll come back and we'll harvest. Okay, this is staged. Put this board up here just so I could film it. Normally I would just do this on the table behind me like you've seen many times, but I'm going to go ahead and harvest this now. There's still a little bit of dampness to it, but that's okay. Alright, there you go. It's all cut. Excuse me. If you grow the stems a little longer, one of the things you can do is you can cut above the seeds that may be remaining there, so you'll get even fewer seed holes, I should say. I want to bring the mat over to you. I want you to see it. I want you to see that there's nothing wrong, nothing in it, no disease, no mold, anything like that. So I'm going behind the camera, and I'll hold it up. Let me adjust this viewer so I can see that you can see it. This is very dense. There's not a space in here hardly at all. It's all taken by an individual micro. Every square itty bitty spot on that screen is taken. That's what happens when you plant it really dense. I don't know of any other way you can grow micros this dense and not have issues, consistently not have issues like I don't. This is the remaining, remaining roots, a lot of it came off with the, when I pulled it out of the tray. You see how dark that's gotten now? That's normal, that's natural. So, yeah, did I show you the tray? Let me show you the tray. Be right back. This is the tray. It's already dried out. You can probably, let me see if I can see it here. Yeah, there's like some little pieces of, this is not mold, it's the nutrients, the salts from the nutrients. So that's the tray. This is for those of you who are wanting to grow microgreens so you can see for yourself that this method, there's no problems almost always. If you watched in my videos before, you'll know that this is the way I weigh, and I'll explain it because there are newcomers here. So I turn the scale on. I use a glass so that I can elevate the microgreens above and still be able to see the screen. We're going to zero out the glass and this tub, which is the exact one that the microgreens are on here, and we're using an empty one just to zero it out. That way when we get the actual weight, it's nothing but microgreens. Okay, this grow is a little damper than what I normally do, so I'm going to subtract some weight off of it for that, because it hasn't completely dried. I usually harvest them dry, but I wanted to show you how they can be rinsed if you're not if you don't care. Okay, so this is 52 ounces. That's a lot. That's 3.27268, which is 3.27, 3.3 ounces, 3.3 pounds, excuse me. So let's take a third of a pound and let's make it an even 3 pound weight. So I think that's pretty fair, don't you? The amount of moisture that may still be on there. Let's make it an even 3 pounds. All right. What's that in grams? Before I take it off. 1,482 grams. Can you guys see that? I'm looking in the camera now. Yeah, okay. So now, I've never tasted collared microgreens that I can remember. I can't remember if I grew these before. Maybe I did. I didn't include them in the book, I know that. So, let me get one. You see the nice little true leaf on there. Let's give it a taste. Okay. It's got the basic brassica taste. It's hard to discern it from like cabbage. Cabbage has got a little spicier taste to it. So does kohlrabi. But it's hard to discern it terribly much from broccoli at this stage anyway. Let me taste another one. Yep, I stick by that assessment. Maybe some of you guys have a more delicate palate where you can taste differences like that, but I can't. So as a microgreen, it's probably got all the same, or very close to the same nutrients as all your brassica family, which includes cabbage, kale, broccoli, kohlrabi, mustards are definitely going to taste different, but there's turnips, but they basically all have the probably, I don't know for sure, but I imagine they're pretty close to the same nutrient value, especially when you're feeding them nutrient and they're processing that nutrient and it's captured as the vapors transpire out into the atmosphere. So anyway, that was a pretty great grow. It's Brent, you guys. We'll see you later.